Okay, hello, welcome back to another video. As you can see by the title and thumbnail, this is not quite the same as my normal videos, however it is very similar. What you're about to see are two extremely aggressive and quick wins that I played over the past couple of weeks. Neither's really long enough to warrant its own video in isolation, however together they combine to create the video you're watching right now. Hopefully you enjoy both of these games. Let me know in the comments which is your favourite, and also if you enjoyed a sort of miniature compilation in general. I don't know to what extent you can really call two things a compilation, but semantics aside, sit back, relax and enjoy some of the greatest attacking chess you'll ever witness. Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today my opponent is playing Knight f3, the flippin' Resi. So I'm going to try something that I've been working on recently, the Hairstrom Gambit with g5, offering up the pawn effectively for free. However, as with any semi-reasonable gambit, although I don't know whether you can class this as a reasonable gambit, we do get some compensation in the fact that we can play e5, claim the center with some tempo here on this knight. After the knight moves back, here's interesting, because we can definitely play d5, again with tempo. This seems a little inaccurate. Already I think the Hairstrom Gambit has proved itself worth it. I mean, the full center with tempo and the knight driven back to g3, plus an open g-file for if you castle kingside. I mean, that's definitely going to be a useful thing. I mean, hell yeah, knight c6. And it's kind of like we're playing with white here. We throw this pawn away to have the privilege of playing with the white pieces, basically, to regain the tempo that our opponent gets by starting and more. So we'll go bishop e6 here, probably queen d7 and a queenside castles, because otherwise, I mean, yeah, I've trashed my kingside already. Yeah, they're thinking about taking here. I might play knight here, but then if bishop g5, I can't play f6. I'm going to start with queen d7. If you take here, we can take with the bishop. I don't really want to push past just yet, because I'm imagining that, ooh, h3? What the hell is that? Do you not want to see bishop g4 or something? I don't think bishop g4 was of particular concern. You could very easily play bishop e2. Okay, now we castle queenside, and now my position makes so much sense. So much sense. We were threatening maybe to take that, although they could have, I guess, taken with the knight. We take with the bishop here, of course. Probably they play knight c3 and gain back a little tempo, because I really don't want to let them take this bishop. I'd much rather pay the price of just retreating humbly. But, I don't know. We got some open files. And some big tempo here. f5. Let's get after it. Immediate fork threat. Immediate expansion towards this king here. Controlling the e4 square. How do you even stop this fork? I mean, I guess you could drop back with the knight or with the bishop. Those both seem like very regressive and passive moves. Also, playing f5 lets me develop the knight under the pawn, which seems far more flexible. You know, if you push the pawn before developing the knight, then you could... Then of course, sorry, if you develop the knight first, then you can't push the pawn. It's one. You know, it's a lot more flexible to push the pawn first, I guess, if you are going to be thinking about pushing the pawn. They play bishop here. Now, I could play bishop e7, that's fine. You know, bishop takes, knight takes, I'd have a pretty decent position. I like this dark square bishop, and I like the idea of maybe bishop c5 or bishop d6, pushing this, sacking here, or not even sacking here, sorry, trading here, ruining the dark squares over here. I don't want rid of my dark squared bishop when I'm the one attacking. I think the bishop pair is probably going to benefit the attacking side in most cases, and I see no reason why I wouldn't want my rook on the e-file. I mean, that's where your king is. You could massively play queen d2 and queenside castles to try and evade all this pressure down the king side, or we see queen e2 rather than queen d2. But queen e2 runs into this for free, no? And should you take here, we just play check. Yeah, okay, hold on. The queen's got to carry on protecting c2. We get this move for free here. Queen e2, definitely a little dubious. I think they maybe missed knight d4. But yeah, this gambit's paying off. And if you do castle queenside, it's not exactly like you're safe. I mean, look at my bishops here. They retreat the queen to the home square, not even across to d2. That's tough. That is tough indeed. I can play a move like bishop here. I can also play bishop d6. I do quite like bishop b4. We're going to set up the pin here. If you want to break it, I mean, you could just retreat all your pieces. Knight, wow. Now, I'm not convinced by this move at all, because should you take, I take here, we then attack the pinned piece. You have to play like a3. Hold on, knight takes, pawn takes, a3, takes, rook here maybe? I don't know, you can't open up the e-file. You're not going to take here, because not only is there a problem here, but there's a problem with some potential discovery. There's just no way you're threatening to take this in any universe. So in that case, let's get on with development, and let's get on with trying to put pressure on the pinned piece. As Gotham Chess says, you got a PP on the PP. Hold on, dude, hold on. This is looking so tasty. See, now I don't want to dissolve all of this. They do break the pin. They have cocooned the king, and this king is not castling anytime soon. I feel so good about my position. I really would love knight g6, knight h4. I'm sure some of you are aware of why I would like that. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who aren't. I'm playing knight g6. I'm playing knight g6. You have to untangle yourself somehow here. Okay, I mean, this, I guess maybe. Oh, my bishop. I can't believe I just hung my bishop. Oh, man. Damn, I can't believe I hung my bishop.
Oh my lord, they rage quit? No, they're back? They resigned. They of course resigned because pawn takes, knight takes, and that's checkmate. That is so nasty. Oh my lord. Okay, a quick analysis shows a relatively... Hold on, one blunder? Mistake. Where's the blunder? I mean, I played this relatively well, building an advantage. F5 was great, rook across, knight in, bishop pinning. Where was the blunder? That was the blunder. It was a blunder because they could have taken here. It wasn't really a blunder though, it was a missed win. It gave back the advantage that I had. I cannot possibly resist this, and of course, it's so nasty. Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today we're playing e4 as per usual. My opponent decides to respond with, they go for a French defense. Okay, we're gonna take a small sip out of this nice retro Coke glass here and play c4, the Steiner variation of the French. Now, after d5, we take inwards here, they recapture, hopefully. I mean, it would not make so much sense if they didn't. And we play queen to b3, the Ortho-Schnapp gambit. Now, how's this a gambit? Because we're giving up our e-pawn here. Why are we giving up that pawn? For immense pressure on f7, for immense pressure on b7. Bishop c4 will follow, with further pressure on f7. Knight c3, very operatic development, reminiscent of Paul Morphy's opera game, of course. And hopefully a nice, interesting attacking position. Or there's c6. I mean... the shudder of disgust that runs through my body as I see this move from my opponent, it does baffle me how people can play c6 here. I guess they're scared. I guess I'll play d4. Okay, we'll play d4, we'll claim the center. If you play knight f6, we can probably push and play e5. You outpost that knight. We've got to be careful not to play f3 straight away, of course, because of queen h4 threats, but at some point that knight will be removable, I reckon. If you take now, we get to play bishop c4 and continue with something that's at least a cousin of the gambit, with c6 and d4 played. I'd imagine that has to benefit me if you now do take, because d4 is a very natural move that we'd like to play. c6 just robs the knight of that natural developing square, although I did allude to Paul Morphy's opera game, c6 was played to allow the queen to defend b7 and f7 at the same time, so who knows, maybe it's a decent idea. However, what I can guarantee is that even though I've been talking and explaining my moves, I could have played these moves in like 10 seconds, we've still built up a massive time advantage. Now, they want a queen trade, I mean... this guy sucks. Listen, Ben AR 1414. I've got a lot of, nothing but respect for my opponent, but also I hate the way you play chess. c6 and queen b6. I'm going to let them trade the queens if they'd like, trashing my structure but giving me a nice open rook. I don't really know if I have too much of another option. I'm also, by the way, letting them take on d4 if they'd like. I'm assuming that if we get to play bishop e3 and a bunch of tempo there, that could also be really interesting. There we go. Okay, they accept the gambit of a completely different pawn. This is now... not the Ortho-Schnapp clearly, but we take on, or rather, sorry, we play bishop e3. You can't retreat pleasantly down the diagonal. You can't take here, of course, because the knight defends. I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing here. I am kind of liking what I'm seeing. Now, we could immediately win back the pawn. Here, and, trade the queens ourselves. Queen here, and then knight here, bishop d6. Probably that's just a dead even position. Or we take here, because probably I don't want to get forked on d4. And then I castle queenside. Also, actually, I could have castled queenside straight away. But we loosen up this pawn, we make it isolated, and then instead of cashing in straight away, I don't want to go for a queen trade. I could take with the knight, but I do think castling queenside here has to be very interesting. At the very least. My opponents moved none of their pieces other than pawns and a queen. They now finally develop a knight here, but I can gain plentiful tempo from this queen. I could also play moves like this and then try and play rook e1. I can play rook e1 right now even. In fact, rook e1 right now could be awesome. Just threatening bishop d2. And if you move the queen, then I've got some discovery to the king. Does that make sense? I also really like knight f3, bishop b5, bring the other rook to e1. Very, very fluid way to get genuine complete development within 12 moves. Or I cash in on this. I feel like I must be completely winning here. I mean, not completely winning necessarily, but at least a huge advantage because, we're going to be able to recapture this pawn. I've got so many tempting moves. Rook takes here, knight f3, rook e1. What's the most pressing issue? I mean, the queen and the king on the same file means rook e1 just has to be at very least decent. You play like d4, we go back here. You take. We're definitely winning there, of course. Here, if you don't move the queen, I guess you could play knight f6. And then wherever my discovery is, which I guess it has to be to d2 to hold this, you could put the knight here, but at that point I could take, I don't know, I think rook e1's maybe rushing it a little. The engine might disagree. I'm just going to start with knight f3. I want to complete the development of all my pieces. Maybe I had a more appropriate move there, but developing and then eventually cashing in on this pawn, being nice and mature and not worrying about it too early. I mean, we have 3 pieces attacking the pawn and the only defender is currently being attacked by my knight. The king is 3 moves away from castling kingside and 2 away from castling queenside, but you can't spend this move right now working towards that goal because of course the queen's hanging. So We now see the queen step back, but I mean knight d5. With tempo of this big, fat family fork, it has to be. The alliteration just makes it so. Knight takes d5. We're going into c7. King, queen, rook. Family fork. Yes, please. So they defend with the bishop. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Do I have maybe bishop c4? If you go knight here, I could play queen a4 check, such that you've got to return with the knight, and then we have some discovery with our knight. In fact, we have the check hitting the queen. Come on. This is disgusting. This is absolutely outrageous. Complete development of minor pieces. We're going to play rook e1. If we played rook e1, or if we get the opportunity to play rook e1 before the appropriate time arises to... okay, I mean, this just doesn't work, does it? Check. I don't know what the difference is between a4 and b5, but I'd imagine this check does just force the knight back, else I will be taking your knight. You could play bishop d7 if you want. And resignation. Because you go knight c6 and I can play knight c7 check, attacking the queen twice. You take here, I take the queen. Let's analyze that game. So here we are in the analysis. 81% accuracy, although I'd imagine that would have been much higher had we played out the game, because generally speaking, if you get a winning endgame and play a load of obviously correct moves, it inflates the accuracy metric. This was literally a 13-move game. This was a miniature, in fact. Apparently the mistake was castling queenside. What? Okay, let's just really quickly go through that game, because I have no real idea. We played the auto snap, and then d4, knight c3. They take here and bishop e3. Okay, so letting them take this pawn was actually excellent. Bishop e3, they go here, we take here, and then I should have gone knight f3 straight away. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't. Actually, I mean, I just thought castling queenside was super important, but I guess knight f3 is more forcing, and then we can castle. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a move order thing. Okay, we castle, but apparently knight f6 was significantly stronger than knight c6. Because after I play knight f3, there's queen c7? I mean, what? Oh, I guess now I can't take this pawn, or I have to maybe play king b1 before I do. And even if I do take this pawn, you could trade it off for this knight, and then actually this is well defended, whereas the knight taking was what was causing real problems. Okay, I mean, we castle, they bring the knight out, and then knight f3, but from here, of course, taking with the threat of the fork, and bishop c4 was beautiful. We could have gone for knight g5 as well. Jesus, man. Holding, like, just every square. Although, even if I'd seen this move, I think I'd have definitely still played bishop c4. It seems much more practical, and then, yeah, knight here, check. And they just resigned, because if you go back here, I was probably going to play knight c7. Which would have been good, but I'd have had better moves like knight d4. Are you joking? I mean, maybe had our opponent allowed us, we could have explored the game and maybe reached these kind of positions, but knight c7 here would have also just ended the game pretty much on the spot. Grabbing that queen, they could take... Actually, they have a couple pieces for the queen. It's not entirely obvious, but then we could go for knight d4 at this point, force off a couple trades. Damn, I guess play the ortho snap. Look at the state of this.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe. As I said at the start, let me know which was your favorite game, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.